Okay, so I'm going to show you how to prepare a pudding bowl for steaming. And the main point of this is that you have to make sure your pudding bowl is completely sealed so that no moisture gets in, because if it does, your pudding will dry out and it won't be very tasty. So I have here a 2-pint pudding bowl, plastic, or 1 litre bowl is the same thing. So the other thing I have as well is some margarine. I'm going to use that to grease the various elements. I have some parchment paper or baking paper, whatever you have, or greaseproof paper, and I'll explain to you in a moment how I prepared that. I have some tin foil, and also that's going to go on top. That will also be greased. And then I have 2 pieces of twine that I've used. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grease the pudding bowl. Now, this is not, scientific, but generally if it's just grease, I use the paper from my block of margarine and I give it a good greasing all around. And make sure it's pretty much rubbed in. I use the paper for this. And do it right to the edges so that your pudding comes out when it is cooked. Now, the other thing that I need as well is a small circle for the bottom of the pudding bowl, and I just give that a wipe, take off any of the excess, and put that greased side up at the very bottom of it. Now that's going to come out, you're not going to see that, but it does help when you're trying to remove your pudding, that it's there for you, and it'll come out with the pudding. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to then put in the pudding mixture. This is what the pudding looks like before it's cooked, and I'm going to put the pudding mixture into the bowl. Now, I filled the pudding bowl up, and I just press it down. Don't be afraid, it's a pretty robust mixture. It doesn't need a lot of TLC. So once you have all that in, what you do then is you take your greaseproof paper. Now what I did was, I very simply just took one of our dinner plates and I drew a circle around it and I cut it out. And you need 2. You need 2 of them. And then my daughter helped me do this morning. You fold them up, fold it in half, and then fold it over and back, just so that you have some ribs on it. And I think that just lets the steam through, it lets the heat in. Now, what you have to do as well with this is you have to grease it as well. Now, to me, I find greases is very beneficial because it sticks to the top of the pudding. And greaseproof paper, being what it is very slippy and slidey, so when you're trying to tie it down, it's best that it stays put. And greasiness helps that, aside from helping the pudding as well. So, grease them, put the 2 of them on, and you place that on top. They should stay put, job done. Now, to tie this down, what I took was a metre of string. Now, it turns out our table is about 1 metre wide, so I took about 3 foot or 1 metre. And what I did was, I find this is handy because if your one hand is doing this, you definitely need help. I tie a knot in it, like a lasso. And that means then you just can tighten it with one hand when you do get it put over. So you have a lasso. So you just tie the knot on it so that when you get it over, you can just tighten it. I leave a little end here so I can tie the knot again to secure it. So what you're going to do is you're going to put this on, and I tie string around it at this point, tighten it as tight as I can, and then what I'm going to do is I'll show you the next stage in a moment. Okay, so I had some help. So what you do is you tighten it up, and then I tighten it as tight as I can do it. Give it another knot, it's no harm, and then I just trim it off, because something like that when you're taking it out and it's hot, it could scald you. So try and not have too many this time. So that's the 2 round pieces of greaseproof paper that I'll grease and put on top, and that's making that sealed as much as you can. And you should have a little frill the whole way around, as much as you can, stretch that through, so pretty tight on top. Now, with your tin foil, it's pretty much the same thing. I did make the disc a bit bigger this time because I like to go down a bit further. It's exactly the same. You put it in a fan, fold it over and back. If you have children, they'll enjoy this job. And you just finish that out. And then put it over the top. And this is easier because it's tin foil and it will take the shape. Press it down, find the lip, push it down, tight as you can. And I did exactly the same with my other piece of string, I tied the knot in it so that you have a lasso type. And that makes it easier when you're doing it one-handed. So I tighten it as tight as I can, and then the knot won't move really on you. Secure it with a second knot, and then I make a handle out of the remaining string. So push your tail down through it so that you have this secure. Tie a knot again, tie a knot again, so that you can lift your pudding out, because they're nearly impossible to get out when they're very, very hot. This helps. And if you need to take it out and top up the water, this helps. So that's how you prepare your pudding for steaming, and that to me has worked for many years.